Hey, how about this one? Sean Payton and Bo Nix got into it on the sideline yesterday. Your guy, two of your guys, you love these two. Many people brought up last year where Sean Payton and Russell Wilson got into a heated debate. But the back and forth here with the rookie quarterback, a little bit different. And here's Sean Payton.
It's part of the deal. Listen, there's still a little bit of Ferris Bueller in this player that we got to get rid of. All right, talking about Bo, and I love him to death. And so sometimes it's my love language.
I love that. And they both apologize. Ferris Bueller meaning he's a little mischievous. He's going to kind of do things, and he's not going to ask for permission, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off remains one of the great comedies of all time. But I think what he's saying is he's going to do what he wants to do. He's had 61 snaps in college. He comes in with kind of an identity, and this is what I do. And he's trying to get that little mischievous, I'm going to do things without asking for permission out of that. But I will say about Bo Nix, he may not throw it, he's not a big, deep ball thrower. He is way more athletic than people give him credit for. He can, not Jaden Daniels, but the dude can move.
I feel like he's probably as athletic as Caleb Williams. I don't. Is that crazy to say?
He's not as big as Caleb, not as power.
Yeah, listen.
24 to 23.
I think, Bo Nix is obviously more mobile than a lot of people give it credit. That give him credit for. He's mobile. He could throw the ball. Everyone's so obsessed with being able to throw the ball, 80 yards down the field. I mean, everyone keeps acting like Bo Nix has this like weak arm for somehow, and it's just not true. I mean, does he have a cannon like say like a Josh Allen or something? Like, I mean, no, but like I think we have to we have to just like stop, constantly putting that on Bo Nix, but yeah, the whole back and forth with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, I think is funny, because they obviously have a really collaborative relationship. And this is exactly what Drew Brees talked about. Drew Brees, I literally did a clip where Drew Brees was interviewed by Colin talking about how, you got to dish it back to Sean Payton. You got to communicate with him. You got to push back. Sean Payton's like a really hard personality type coach, and like you need to be able to give it back to him. And there wasn't a disagreement with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Sean Payton was just yelling, and Russ just kind of like looked at him like, vacantly, right? Like is anything going on here? And I don't think that that's how it unfolded with Bo Nix. But yeah, a coach like Sean Payton who has all this experience, it really is very much like a father-son relationship. And people think that just because you're yelling or having some sort of disagreement or whatever it may be, that it's automatically a bad thing, when in reality they talk about how the story and the example that I always like is because we always talk about like in just life, right, how you want to be a better person and not yell and be happy, and what does it mean to be like a good parent, or what does it mean to to be a good, kind, loving person. And it's like, does that mean like you're never supposed to yell? And the answer to that is always like, no. If you have a child who wanders into the street not looking, the appropriate response is to yell at that child and say, no, don't do that. And it's coming from a place of love. And that's why even Sean Payton was like, I listen, I love this kid, but he's got a little Ferris Bueller in him, right? So it's just different. People love to like pounce on these stories, pounce on these things as such a negative, but the Broncos obviously believe in him. Sean Payton obviously believes in him, right? They're 4th and inches, on their own 35, like early on in the game. I think the Broncos are starting to catch their stride. The defense was disrupting Minshew all day. I mean, it feels like Nix really found his touch. That 55-yard pass to Franklin, but it was like dropped. I mean, like it was pinpoint throw. It was perfect. I think what I'm noticing with Bo Nix so far is he's starting to get really accurate when he has a softer touch, when he puts a little bit more air on the ball and the ball is kind of floating a little bit more rather than his, really like laser hard throws, right? I think he has such a beautiful touch that the more that they can rely on that, the better Bo Nix and the better, of course, the Denver Broncos will be. But I mean, 19 for 27, 2 touchdowns, 206 yards. It could have nearly been 300 yards with that catch and 3 touchdowns, right? If it wasn't for that drop. The run game is coming along. It was still really only carried by a few like chunk plays, which I think it's like, on one side, those chunk plays can keep the defense honest, but I think it's harder to open up the field for Bo Nix in the passing game when you know you can't really rely on that run game. Again, it helps the defense have to kind of, be a little bit more honest. So it's better than nothing. But, when you're averaging under 4 yards per carry, that's usually, to me, that's a problem. The cutoff is like at least 4.5, right? That's typically like the average in the NFL. So when you're averaging in the threes, I just think it's harder. And then, even as a play caller, you're just like, right? Like you don't want to call the run anymore because you're like, this is really kind of hurting us, right? Like there's such a high risk of this going for 1, 2, or, negative yards. And it just starts to make everything feel a little bit tighter. And that's a shame. I really think that Bo Nix would be in such a better position if they could just get the run game more consistently established. And this is the thing that's actually, I think, really being under talked about as to why Jaden Daniels is having so much success. Now, granted, Jaden brings a lot of the run game himself because he obviously can run, but they also have other weapons that they're using at the running back position that has really been able to help open up the field for Jaden Daniels. And again, take nothing away from Jaden, he's playing unbelievable, but I really think that Bo Nix, to me, the more and more that I watch him play, it's just one of those things where once he continues to get more and more comfortable, he's going to be the type of quarterback that will just hit his guys, right? You give him the opportunity to throw the ball. You give him the opportunity, time in the pocket. You give him the opportunity to have people who are just open and who can actually physically catch the ball. He's going to hit his mark. He's going to hit those guys. He's not going to be a quarterback that consistently you're like, that guy was open. What are you doing? You can't miss that, right? Like, he's not going to be that inconsistent quarterback. I think Bo Nix's superpower will be his consistency, right? It'll be very much like a Jared Goff or a Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying that's his ceiling. I'm just saying in terms of their level of consistency of passing the ball, to me, that's what Bo Nix will be able to tap into sooner than later. Now, you add in the mobility and stuff like that, it can really open things up. So I just think that Bo Nix is slowly starting to kind of get into that. And I think that also people have to recognize that Denver Broncos, they only have such great talent right now, right? And I think that Sean Payton is really squeezing as much juice as he possibly can out of this team. And it's showing, it's showing. They're winning games. They're winning games, and these aren't, easy, just give me games, right? It's just like, I'm not going to act like the Raiders are this dominant powerhouse team, but they're also not this absolutely awful, oh my God, anyone can beat them team either, although I'm sure Denver Broncos want to feel that way. But it's just, these are harder fought games than people give them credit to. Even the Jets game, right? Like, that Jets game was still versus the Vikings. Like, the Vikings could have lost that game, and the Vikings are the best team in the NFL, and they're playing in London, and the Broncos beat them in an ugly, bizarre, torrential downpour rain game. Like, those things are not easy to do. Beating the Buccaneers, who then smoked the Eagles. Like, these are just not give me games that the Broncos are finding their way to win it. I know it's not super pretty. Like, when you watch those games start to finish, outside of maybe the Buccaneers game, like, it doesn't feel like you're watching this like super dynamic, exciting play. Like, that's the thing when you watch like a Washington Commanders game and you see Jaden Daniels, your eyeballs can fall out of your head and you're like, whoa, this is unreal, man, right? And I think if you're watching all these games like I do, when you compare it to like a Broncos game, you don't have that same reaction, right? And so to me, people will take that as like, well, this is really actually not that good, or something feels wrong, or something feels like it's missing, or like, were we even really deserving to win this game, or are we just playing bad teams? And no, I just think that what we're seeing is just Sean Payton maximizing what the Denver Broncos have in this moment, and they are coming along. They are playing into, I don't want to say game shape, but like, game mentality, right? This team is also having to kind of, in a lot of ways, learn how to win, learn how to play situational football, learn how to take a punch. There's still a lot of learning to go around, not just for Bo Nix. So, and just Sean Payton having to continue to instill his ultimate identity for the Denver Broncos. He did not get a chance to do that last year. That's what I think should also be emphasized. He was not given that opportunity last year because of how everything unfolded, right? Because of the pieces he had, because of the quarterbacks that he had, he was not able to really instill what he views football to be. This is the year that he's doing it, but he's now also doing it with a rookie quarterback. So he has to now do multiple things at once. And considering that's what he's doing, I think it's been a great success. It may not be as amazing or as top level as some people would hope, or as quickly as they would hope, but it's absolutely going in the positive direction. It's absolutely getting stronger, better, and this team is starting to build this identity. They're starting to collect wins, and to me, that's impressive. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos? What do you think about their little fight on the sidelines and Payton saying, he's got a little Ferris Bueller in him? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.